Hotep family, I'm back. Like, share, and subscribe. Today we're going over the Kom Ombo temple and its surgical instruments specifically. I'm going to start things and get things rolling momentarily. In the meanwhile, we're going to give people a chance to get up in here. Definitely hit the like, share, subscribe button. Let everybody know I'm going live. Again, we're talking about Kom Ombo and the surgical instruments that are approximately 3,000 years old.
Thank you. Siddiqui.
Once again, welcome in, Hotep family. We're going to go over the Legacy of Kom Ombo, and I'm going to get that started momentarily. I'm probably going to start around the 6-minute mark. Once again, welcome in, Hotep family.
Come on.
All right. So hit the like, share, subscribe button. We're going to be going over the Legacy of Kom Ombo. What you're looking at right now is a stele of surgical instruments. This is at the temple of Kom Ombo. This is approximately 3,000 years old. And 3,000 years old comes way before Europeans came up with their medical industry and their technologies. And just due to the fact that this is 3,000 years old, there is no guess when it comes to whether the Europeans copied the Kemet U or not. That's not a guess. This is factual. And I say that because if your son had a idea and a drawing that he made with a whole bunch of instruments on it, and before he could turn his assignment in, weeks leading up to the assignment being turned in, another student comes up with that same instrument design that he made up, you would feel some type of way. And if he turned that in, if that student turned that in and took your child's credit for the work. And this is especially so since the other child who turned that material in worked with your child, so he did his homework together, and now all of a sudden he's turning in the same diagram. So there's no question that they copied this. Right now there is a really trivial and unnecessary argument going on within the conscious sector about whether the ancient Egyptians or the Kemet U were practicing science. We brought up mathematics, and suddenly when they bring up mathematics, you know, it's not an exact science, it's just close to being science. But here it is. We have a medical papyri, we have a stele that illustrates surgical instruments. So now you can't go back and say that the ancient Egyptians weren't scientific based on argumentation about whether math is an exact science or an applied science or an art. Even if you want to say mathematics is an abstract art, you still shooting yourself in the foot, because in order to verify whether somebody is scientific, again, I said this before on the last live stream, you go back and you analyze their knowledge of mathematics. If they have no knowledge of mathematics, then they can't be scientific. And at this point, we're playing the semantics game. I'm not playing the semantics game. They are. They know that math is a science. If boxing is a science, math is a science. If pickup artistry is a science, then math is a science. I don't want to hear nothing about, oh, well, math is just a way to apply science. If math is the language of science, then math is a science. Now, if someone says, well, math isn't a science because by definition it's not, what have you proven by arguing that? You haven't proven anything. Saying math is a science isn't doing a disservice to the black race. You, on the other hand, you're just doing that to be trivial so you can be disruptive within the revolution. Because again, when it comes to boxing and any type of sports, any type of strategy involving things that don't involve important things, you'll call it a science. But all of a sudden, when we talk about Kemet, and now that it's undeniably ran and operated by black people, now it can't be scientific. It's got to be everything but scientific, because now the civilization is important and was owned and operated by black people. Here is a childbirth scene in Kom Ombo. So at this point, with the instruments, the surgical instruments, and the childbirthing scene, we can say that Kom Ombo was a medical center. We don't have to wait on Europeans to tell us anything. We already know what situation we're in. We already know the stakes. So there's no purpose. There's no meritable purpose in trying to shoehorn European standards on African accomplishments. A caduceus is based on spiritual symbols that they got from Kemet, that they held on to because they know that they're getting this knowledge from ancient people. They know that they haven't done anything modern. The term modern might as well be the same as sub-Saharan at this point, because in order for them to have a modern era, they had to go back and raid the Kemetic temples in Egypt for that to happen. If you look at chronology, the industrial age for Europe and America doesn't happen until after they come out of these tombs and temples. This is another version of a caduceus. You can clearly see the Kemetic influence in that. While it is Greek, we know that Greek gets everything from Kemet. Here is the medical corps symbol again. They also use this in civilian industry as well as the military industry. In addition to that, Europeans saw use in the Eye of Heru, or the Wajet. As you can see, the Eye of Heru was a prototype or a model for the prescription symbol. And as you can read here, we see the drawing by Nicholas Warner, and he's telling you the importance of spiritual and scientific symbology. This is evidence that spiritual science is a reality. They took a spiritual symbol and used it so they can write medical recipes. Medical recipes. The Eye of Heru is now a symbol for a medical recipe or a prescription. We gotta clean it up, because at this point we're just being disingenuous when we try to separate science and spirituality and try to deny that Africa had their own type of science. A mad scientist is exclusively European, and I told you guys this before. The difference between African science and European science is that the process that they use has a different end result. Africans have a process with a end result to construct and create things. On the other hand, guess what European processes do? They destroy things. That's why you have the mad scientists. That's why you have eugenics. There wasn't no African people practicing eugenics. You do not have an African equivalent of a mad science system. We've only been going inside of 20 minutes, so I'm going to give it a few more minutes. I'm going to take a brief intermission, let the drums play, give people a chance to come in, hit the like, share, and subscribe button. I will open up the panel if I get enough people watching. Meanwhile, I'm going to take a brief intermission and start things back up around the 30-minute mark. In between the 30-minute mark, though, I will go back over these symbols. But meanwhile, like, share, and subscribe. Definitely hit that like and subscribe button so I can get my plaque. Definitely hit the Cash App as well. The Cash App is in the QR code. If you are unable to use the QR code, the Cash App is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So again, I will pick things back up around the 25-30-minute mark. If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave it in the live chat.
La guerre, c'est des guerres.
Hit the like, share, and subscribe. Got the djembe drums playing for you. Let everybody know that they can come up after I'm finished with this presentation and we can discuss. Kom Ombo is listed as a Ptolemaic temple, but if you are intellectually deficient enough to think that the Greeks or Macedonians could just come up in the area and build something and design surgical instruments, then yeah, you need to go to a psychiatric ward, a psych ward for evaluation. Because I know you simps will try to come and say, well, because it's a Ptolemaic temple, that it no longer can be attributed to Kemet. Straight foolishness. Again, I'm going to pick things back up at the 30-minute mark, close to the 30-minute mark. And we're going to give people the opportunity to come in. So meanwhile, hit the like, share, and subscribe. Definitely hit the Cash App. This is the place to come to get ammo when the conscious sector is acting up. When you have certain personalities, whether they be popular or trying to follow in the footsteps of popular individuals who want to start to compromise with the Eurocentric ideology, this is the place to come to get clarity. If you haven't already liked and subscribed, please do. Again, this is about the legacy of Kom Ombo.
Thank you. Siddiq.
So what we're looking at is the medical relief of Kom Ombo. This is a depiction of surgical instruments. This proves the scientific application of the Kemet U. Here it is labeled. All the instruments are labeled. And here is the modern rendition of what they found in Kemet on the temple walls of Kom Ombo. What's unique about the Europeans' looting of Egypt is that it predates the industrial age. I know I said that once already, but I can't say that enough because a lot of people who come into this conversation don't realize that. They either don't realize that or they don't care to acknowledge the fact that the French invasion of Egypt predates closely to the European industrial age. It closely predates to the European industrial age. And I tell people all the time, just because there's no physical evidence available doesn't mean that these things and these technologies don't exist, because we see these technologies on steles, on murals. People are so terrified to be opposite of Eurocentrism, or they're so terrified to challenge Eurocentrism, that nothing can be true about Kemet anymore, especially if it matches modern technology. But that's what it's all about. People are Afrophobic and they're scared to be Afrocentric. Total foolishness. There's no reason to be scared or intimidated when it comes to your African culture. Spiritual symbols that define medical or modern industries, I should say. Spiritual symbols that define modern industries. The caduceus is one. The Eye of Haru, or the Wajet, is another. The Wajet defines the basis for medical recipes and prescriptions.
Thank you.
If Europe would have never raided temples in Egypt, who knows how long it would have took for us to be considered modern. People never think about that. I say again, if it was not for the French and the Europeans looting and raiding Kemetic temples in Egypt, they would not be in a modern era. There would be no industrial age. There will be no French leading the world in electrical engineering. The French can't discover or rediscover the Dendera Temple and then all of a sudden be the leaders in electrical engineering. Something's fishy going on. That's suspicious. But if you just don't want to be Afrocentric, you don't think that's suspicious. That's just a coincidence. That's just normal. Science is science. There's no difference between African science and European science, all because you don't want to be Afrocentric. It's not because you came across some information that's groundbreaking. It's only because you don't want to be Afrocentric do you say that there is no difference between European science and African science. Right now we're going over the legacy of Kom Ombo. Feel free to drop a chat in the live. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Momentarily, I'm going to drop the link in the chat. If anybody wants to discuss, they can come up. If you don't already know, I am on Facebook under the same handle, Tahuti Afar. But meanwhile, if you are not on Facebook, this is the place to be. Hit the like, share, subscribe button. Again, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the live chat. If you missed the live stream, feel free to drop your comments in the comment section of the video. In about 5 minutes, I'm going to drop the link in the chat.
Thank you. Siddiqui.
I'm going to wait. I'm going to give it about 5 minutes, another 5 minutes. If someone wants to come up. If not, I'll be closing out. For any of you who are out there watching, please feel free to hit the like and the share and the subscribe button. Before I do close it out, I'm just going to go over all the imagery again. Right now you're looking at the Eye of Haru, which was the basis for Europeans to come up with a symbol for their medical recipes or their prescriptions. A lot of people are unaware of this, so here it is. Again, this is the space, the channel to come when you are in need of ammo. If you just want to come here for leisure, this is the place. If you want to come here to get educated, this is the place. If you are a debater, you can come here and get ammo, sources, and information. A lot of the debating is unnecessary, but I do understand that people have certain interests and hobbies. So again, if you are a debater, this is the space or the channel to come to for references and information. What we're looking at is called a caduceus. It is the serpent and the falcon with a staff being used as a medical symbol for modern industries today, for modern science. So they are indeed using spiritual symbols to define modern science. Here is another caduceus. Again, it is Greek, but it is obviously influenced by Kemet. You can see the Kemetic influence in it. This is the medical symbol, a spiritual symbol that defines medicine in modern times. This is the childbirth scene. A lot of New Age spiritualists are midwives and they do in-home births. But this is where the concept comes and originates from. In any spiritual system, Kemet is the model. To be clear, any spiritual systems that exist in antiquity modeled their concepts after Kemet. That goes for Sumer, Akkad, Assyria, Tamil, which is also known as Indus Valley civilizations. They model all their knowledge from Kemet. We're going to be closing out soon. If you have any questions or concern, feel free to drop any remarks in the live chat. My Cash App is in the QR code on the top left corner. If you're having trouble accessing it through the QR code, the Cash App is scrolling on the bottom of the screen. So feel free to donate.